So I would like to invite back Ignacio to the table to tell us what specifically are your thoughts on preparing for an interview, a successful interview even, and transitioning into consultancy from academia, please.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a few advices. I don't know if the rest of the panelists will agree with me, but these advices are based on my experience. So, well, the first one is you need to do a great resume. So, preferable one-page resume. So, and you need to highlight maybe more the soft skills than all your workshops, international conferences, you wear all the publications, because if you use a 5 or 6 page resume, for sure the talent acquisition team is like, wow, that's too long. I need to read a lot. So you need to highlight, for example, right now, I was working, or I have a personal project with ChatGPT, OpenAI, something like that. So you need to highlight that, or your experience, your programming skills, something more related to the consultancy, to the consulting business, for example. Because at the beginning, my CV was like 10 pages with all my publications, conferences, workshops, projects. I don't remember. It was super long. So now it's like a picture of you. You need to think that people who is reviewing your CV, it's gonna spend 1 minute or 2 at most to review who are you and what are your skills. So you need to take care of that when you share your CV. So that's one of my advices. And the other one, when you are looking for a job, you can find thousands of different job descriptions and different names for the same role position. And let me put an example. You can find, in my case, for example, data scientist role, applied scientist, machine learning engineer, machine learning scientist, AI engineer, AI scientist. Well, the company decides how to name that role, but you need to read the job description. And my second advice about that is, don't be afraid to apply if you see thousands of technologies and frameworks that you need to have experience on to apply for the job, because you can find a job description and we are hiring people with 5 years of experience in OpenAI. That's not possible. Come on, not possible. It started 6 months ago or so. So don't be afraid, because sometimes job descriptions are written by non-technical people, and they start to put, okay, I put SQL, Python, Tableau, Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Analytics. Come on, it's impossible. You need to apply, to talk with the talent acquisition team, to explain more detail about the job. So don't be afraid to apply for this kind of job. Well, if someone is requiring a senior data scientist with 5 years of experience and it's your first job, maybe it's not the good opportunity for you, but don't be afraid if you see thousands of technologies in the job description. And another, and my last advice, and I leave the floor to the other panelists, is put some keywords in your CV, because sometimes it's not the people filtering your CV, it's just an algorithm. If in the role description it's AI engineer, if you put AI in your CV, it's like the first filter. If you don't put it, you are discarded directly, just by an algorithm that doesn't care about you and about your background or your skills. And yeah, that's some advices I wanted to share with you, and I hope it helps.
Great, thank you, Ignacio. So summary, do a great resume, highlight your soft skills, it's a picture of you. Don't be afraid to apply for things, put some keywords in your CV. Is that right? Very good.
That's right.
Any questions for Ignacio while he's here? Because unfortunately, I think, Ignacio, you have to leave us, don't you?
Yeah, in 5 minutes I have a meeting. I cannot postpone one.
Any last questions? Otherwise, I'm sure Ignacio will be able to answer some questions on the alumni platform afterwards, if necessary.
Sure.
Picture or no picture, Pablo says on your CV.
Wow. Up to you, I think.
Okay.
I have the picture in my CV right now. But I mean, it's a personal decision,
Sure.
I think.
I think in US it's no picture, Rachel says in the chat. Yes, it might depend culturally on the country that where you're applying as well, what's accepted and what's not.
Yeah.
Carmen says, anybody got any hobbies? Do you put hobbies? Sorry, anybody got any hobbies? Do you put about hobbies in your CV?
No, I didn't put any hobby in my CV.
Okay. Okay. Irene says
don't.
Switzerland does need a picture. Yeah, I guess it depends on the. Okay, great. Target your CV, I guess, then is the answer to that. Target to whoever you're applying to, I guess. Okay. Thank you, Ignacio. Thank you for your time. Any last questions? Put them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll move on, if that's all right, to Sebastian. Sebastian, what are your top tips for a successful interview, transition to the consulting sector?
Maybe I will just add some remarks from my side to what Ignacio just said. I think, yes, CV is something is important, which you have to be aware that there's a difference between an academic and an outside academia CV. They are, I would not say fundamentally, but they are vastly different. And you should be aware that they have different styles and also different content which the companies want to read. And it's not difficult to find out what you need to do there and read it up. I think it's not worth to summarize it here now. For the hobbies, I also have an advice. Think about if they add some value, if it tells something about you, which is important. If it's just, yeah, you list them because you want to list them, then it's not worth it. But if it tells something about you, then it might be important. And I personally had hobbies there because I thought, okay, this adds some value, explains something about myself, which is not reflected that well in the remaining part. So yeah, think about your CV. You don't have to have to fundamentally change it for every application you do. That would be a waste of time. But at least the main points you should have thought about why you put them in there and how you put them in there. And then regarding let's say the opening question about interview and having its successor, general thing is always true. You have to know whom you're talking to. So don't go to an interview without knowing anything about the company, or you should at least look at their webpage, understood what they are doing, and not only read the search for an applicant or so. Also get informed about your company that you're applying there, and be prepared for showing what you can do. And it will always, usually, at least in the interviews I had, they usually don't want to stress you or destroy you. They want to really see how you react, what you do if you get more and more questions, to dig deeper and want to understand where you are. So yes, it will be stressful. At least at some point they will get to points where you simply don't know the answer. And it's also fine to just say I don't know the answer. But yeah, usually they don't want to destroy you. They want to know where you are and if you can do stuff. And as I already said before, be prepared to really do things in the interview. They will not only ask you questions, they will ask you, if you do for software engineer, then you will be asked to program something. You might even have no IDE or something. It can be that they just give you a sheet of paper, or in nowadays time, just a text editor, and say, write it. It doesn't have to be perfect at the stage. You don't have to be the most performant solution, but you should be able to have the solution to come to the solution and explain why what you are doing while doing it. And usually, at least in my interviews, it was always, they also try to understand how you tackle problems. In consultancy, that's, I think, actually more important, or it's one of the key abilities that, and you should be prepared if they ask you a question, give you a difficult challenge to, while you think about it, explain what you are doing. It not sit there for 10 minutes and then come up with some solution. That will be always bad. Always should at least say, okay, now I'm try to break it down and explain what you are doing. That's yeah, that's important for the interview, I think.
Great. Thank you, Sebastian. If I, again, just quickly can summarize what you said to check I've got this right. So there's a difference between an academic CV and the rest of the outside world CV, a different world CV. They have different styles. People should research those styles before they make applications. Hobbies, people should think, do they have a value to the employer? Are they interesting? Does it bring value to your application? You should research the employer you're applying to. If you put something on your CV, you will be asked about it. And consultancy companies want to know how you tackle problems. I hope I've got more or less the gist of what you. Very good, very interesting. Thank you. Lillian, would you like to add your point of view on how to ace an interview?
Yes, ace an interview. Yes, I think what the other panelists already have mentioned here is very good material. So I have points that sort of align with this. Yeah, let's start with the CV. Yeah, just what they said. You should sort of have a not academic CV, and yeah, good thing to have like a summary section in the CV on top, tailored to the job ad. So again, what Ignacio said, use the words in the ad to get past the first screening. So again, you might feel like, oh, stupid, I'm just like copying what's in the ad, but you need to do that in order to get past the first screening, which, because the talent acquisition, I mean, this probably varies, but the talent acquisition team, they don't necessarily know sort of the details or about the job, like what it actually takes. So they just do the first filtering, and then you get to speak to someone who actually knows like what this is about. So you need to get past that, or otherwise find your own way past that. So that's sort of an alternate path of contacting the company before sending an application. So yeah, then you might need to get some contact person. If again, that depends on the company. Maybe you get that from the web page, maybe not. But that's, yeah, also to show like real interest. That's something that all humans react well to, right? We're actually very interested in them, right? And it also gives you potential information that you can use in sending an even better application. Right, so here you might have to, or you might, yeah, again, what was said earlier, reach out to connections that you see have been working somewhere who you find interesting, and you can sort of find your way through them. People usually are like, positive of being contacted because again, mutual interest, right? So yeah, I'm sort of yeah, also if you want to the networking part and sort of get in, I don't know whether it's called backdoors or whatever, then maybe go to meetups or events and meet people there, talk to them. Like connections, networking is always a good thing, if you know, like you might not know when you will have benefit of a connection. Yes, also what Sebastian said, that they will probably test, like at least in consultancy, soft skills are important. It's not only about your hard skills. So, and I would say communication is key. So that's also why I lifted up FameLab, right? Seek out the opportunity to take part in a FameLab or something like that, where you get training in explaining complicated things in simple ways. like, because communication to a customer, that's key, and that's very important in consulting. So they probably will want to see both things. So as I mentioned from my interview process, there was like this hard part of like going deep into analysis, explaining like the steps of what you do, and then there was extract, like take an article, which is hardcore information, and then make a story around it, like explain it in simple terms. Yes. So yeah, and if you want to get some sort of free boost in in that recruiters contact you, so this is optional, obviously, but you might consider changing your title on LinkedIn to include data scientist. So it was just so funny, like the month after I started my new job, where then I thought, okay, I'm a data scientist, I got so many like contacts from recruiters, like, oh, I see you have this, maybe you're interested in, like, so I mean, data scientist is not a protected title, right? So you do data, you do science, you're a data scientist. It's a very broad thing. So yeah, it's just yeah, hijacking it a bit, maybe. Yeah, in order to prepare, like if you have, so I say this as an advice, but I never did it myself. But if you have the time and capacity, I think it's cool to do a pet project, like to do, because then you already show in advance. You can say like, okay, look at this GitHub thing that I made. So then you're already like proven that you know how to work structured, you know how to work with repositories, you know how to break a problem down, find a solution, and like it doesn't have to be crazy complicated. It's just that, yeah. And there are also good courses on Coursera. Like I think Ignacio taught about that, which can be relevant if you need to skill up during that period of time. Yeah, and except yeah, there will probably be like this transition thing is a hard thing, and applying applying for jobs and finding a new job, that's hard mentally also. So just try to not stress it. Way easier than said than done, but and believe in yourself. This imposter thing again, just you are better than you think. So, and yeah, this what Ignacio said, don't be afraid of applying for a job even when you think like, oh, craziness, this I know like a quarter of what they're asking, because sometimes they're asking things that's just not possible. So just try.
A whole wealth of useful information there, Lillian. Thank you. Really good. I like become a data scientist on LinkedIn. I noted down here. No, talking about building your network and making connections and going to events. Rachel's put a useful statistic actually here in the chat, which says that more than 70% of jobs are found through networks, not job ads. It's sometimes who you know is very important, very powerful. So yes, great advice. Thank you. I believe we've just got Sebastian and Lillian left with us now, actually. Would you mind answering a few more of the questions in the chat? Let's see what we can go through. Let's have a look. Here we are. Right. Okay, so some of the top rated questions. First, we've got here, as I understand it, in consulting, you help various companies with your expertise. Can this be reconciled with personal values / ideals, as you might see yourself working on something that is contradictory to your ideals?
Yeah, it's yeah, that's a good one. So again, this probably depends on your employer, but I have the possibility to say no, I don't want to work on that. My boss always checks in with me. It's like, I have these possibilities. Would that be interesting to you? Which is, I mean, if you're hired somewhere where they really like they know that you're high talent and you can get a job elsewhere easily, then they will really try to make you happy, right? So then you have leverage in saying and choosing what you want to work with or not.
Yeah, I think in my company, and yeah, it's the same. Essentially, you are asked if you want to go to this project. Okay, you can't just say no, no, no all the time. This also doesn't work. And then the other thing I think which helps is also already when deciding for where you want to go, if you have choice, keep in mind some companies have clear their preferences, and if you don't want to have a specific area where you work in, then maybe don't choose the employer which is mostly doing projects there.
Yeah, so you can use that in your interview process, right? If they don't have it openly available already on their webpage, like ask them what sort of projects or customers they work with, and see whether you would be aligned with that, and maybe ask also, can I choose?
Thank you. Irene is asked in the chat, after which percentage of match do you start applying for jobs?
What does that mean? Percentage of what?
I think if from their bucket list on the ad, how many of those you fulfill, feel like fulfilling before you apply. It's very, very hard. I think it very much depends on how you read the ads, and also maybe about your personal mood at the moment. I have to say, not for outside academia, but in academia, actually, I applied, I think, for much more aggressive because I just thought, like, can't be this bucket list, nobody can fulfill. Let's apply. And I think maybe don't really do if you have only one point in there and have, about the rest you have no idea, then it might be over exaggerating it, but be brave, I would say. It's hard to give a number, but maybe Lillian has some more clear criteria.
No, I don't actually, because I've never been in this problem. I applied for somewhere that I didn't see a job ad. Actually, I was it was a earlier colleague who had that as sort of his bonus plan. So he posted like, want to work for here in the physics department of my former university. Because there's a bonus system, right? If you get someone in to the company, you get awarded from it for it. Often that's the case to get good talent. So it was just a poster that I saw in my physics department, or actually my PhD supervisor saw it and forwarded it to me. So I've never had to do this like checklist, like how realistic or unrealistic, and it's also hard to know beforehand, right? Like full stack data scientist, like, yeah, okay, that doesn't really exist, you know. It's like, what does that, it's like, where, like, it's hard to know before you know like the massive amount of tools that there are out there, what is a reasonable list or not. So yeah, it's a very tricky, tricky question. I don't have a really perfect answer to that, but yeah, try.
From all the advice tips we've heard, what helped you personally? Either both the question to first one of you, then the other. Maybe Sebastian, you'd like to go first.
Yeah, I think we gave more tips than we actually, at least I actually used at the end. It's more like, yeah, afterwards you learned this would have been a good thing. The tips, at least I gave, and also others gave, which worked for me quite well, is have a good CV, be prepared for your interviews, and be brave. If the ad sounds like, okay, they need somebody who has 3 times the knowledge you have, try to think, okay, do I at least know what these things are? Yes, okay, then let's try it. Just send it out more. You can't receive anything worse than no.
Fair enough. That's a fair point. Lillian?
Yeah, what worked for me actually is an advice that I haven't been given and have not given yet. So because it's sort of maybe, I don't know whether it's very personal for me or it's actually acting yourself. So I have sort of a stage persona, Lillian. So when I go on stage, I sort of become this other Lillian, if you want. And I sort of use that in the interview. And I think they reacted very well to this. So sort of performing myself in a sense. So which is sort of, then maybe that's a trick of this imposter thing, because you're sort of tricking your brain into thinking that, oh yeah, I am this cool, I am this good, you know, and then just giving off that vibe. People react well to that. So
I've heard of that before, actually. That's a nice approach. You kind of put your shield on, you know, of who you want to propel to somebody. Interesting. Okay, Andrew has a question in the chat. What is the advantage of physicists with respect to non-physicists, and how to sell it? What's your view from the other side of the hiring process? Are you able to even comment on this? I'm not sure. Do you have any colleagues who don't have a physics background necessarily that have had experience on this you've spoken to?
No. Oh, let's see. I can at least show a slide that I prepared, which, so I haven't been on the other side of the hiring table, but we have several physicists in my team. And what my employer told me in the interview process when I said that I was a physicist was, oh, we like physicists. You have worked with data. So it's this useful things, and working with data, at least in my position, is very, very useful. So that sets you apart from so, for instance, computer science background. That's I've seen that people, oh yeah, that's what employer asked for, and I don't know whether that's generic or not, but at least in my department, that's not what they asked for. So I'm not even sure we have someone with computer science background. Yeah, anyways, they would know how to program more beautiful than we do. That's not the strength of a physicist, but you'll learn that as you go along. But this working structured with a problem is very physics, yeah, useful. This analytical thinking, like, okay, I have a problem. How do I break it down? How do I address this thing? You've also had to learn new things. Maybe that's also true for other people. Like, just obviously I made this list before I got the question of what physicist in particular brings to the table. Yeah, advanced statistical modeling, like fitting data. Perhaps also, I mean, this point of working with advanced technology or cutting edge technology, I remember like this frustration of Athena, I think it was, or some sort of software which sort of was changing underneath my feet all the time. So I got sort of trained in getting comfortable with things crashing. That's actually a good something I benefit from in my work today. Yeah, working with repositories, that's not physics specific. Collaboration, maybe physicists work more in teams than other groups, big teams and small teams. That's a big thing also. How to meaningfully work with your colleagues and work with customers. And yeah, I'm listing the things that I learned from certain. Stamina, that's a big one. Persistence. Yes,
it's very good.
Yeah. I don't know whether maybe Lothar has more to add here.
Thank you. Sebastian, did you want to add anything to this?
No, I think Lillian already summarized most what I had on the list. I think I've maybe one thing which is especially true if you did your PhD, I would say, but most likely also for some already before, you're used to understand the project and understand the time you have for it, and used to somehow structure it such that you manage to do it. And people realize if you can do this. Even in interviews, they sometimes have target these things and try to understand how you try to do it. And the other thing is, okay, you have a big tool set which you are sometimes even not aware of, that you have all these things learned while being at CERN or while doing your research, but there's plenty of it. and you are used to just also learn new tools and combine it with these old tool sets and get up to speed quite quickly. That's, I think, what is like most.
Very good, thank you. Do you, Sebastian, you have to leave us in about 10 minutes, is that correct? Okay, so let's just quickly, it's going to take one of the questions from the live Q&A. What's the most interesting or challenging project you had in your consulting career so far? Which part of your job do you like, which you would rather avoid? If any, there might not be any. You might love doing everything that you do. So most interesting project, anything you'd like to avoid?
Very
Sebastian, you going first.
Very, very hard question, since I also had essentially one project until now with different topics, yes, and different things. And it very much depends also on your personal choice. I like very much having these first trying to understand the problem, then having on an abstract level come up with the concept, explaining the concept to my customer, and at the end get it implemented, which we had, for example, when we modernized the CI/CD landscape, because there are different options you could go and directions you could go, and then you have to explain why you think that's a nice thing. I think others, some of my colleagues most likely would say they like more to implement it later. So it depends very much on yourself, I think. I don't have experience yet something where I would say, no, this I don't want at all.
That's really good to hear. Lillian, have you got an answer to this one as well?
Yes. So what's the most interesting project first? Oh, that's a really hard one for me, because that's one of the benefits of my job. I think that I get to work on very different projects. So like before in academia, you spend a lot of time like focusing very narrow on one thing, but now I get to sort of jump and like totally different areas of like things I never knew didn't know. Yeah. Anyways, so hard to choose. I've been doing yeah, many different things, but I would say maybe, okay, I can highlight. I did a project where we did intelligent monitoring of heavy and complex machinery, and that was very interesting for its so MLOps perspective. It was a project where it was so putting machine learning models into production, which is like a whole new level of things you have to think about and things that you have to pipe together and make a robust system that keeps delivering value over time. I mean, that's totally different than just doing like a machine learning proof of concept in a Jupyter notebook. So very interesting from that perspective. Another recent project was optimization of feed to animals, because funnily enough, I've never done optimization before. I never had the course on it on university or anything. So I was like just thrilled to be able to sit down with pen and paper and do equations, and then later code it up in Python, obviously. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I also enjoyed having like delivered these training sessions, like training on how to do machine learning with what I've done, like particular focus on how to do it with Microsoft Azure. So that was it's fun to have this sort of training hat. So I guess also what I like with my current job is that I get to try many different things, like wear different hats and do things I don't know how to do. So I get to grow. Yeah, that's a big thing on my employer, where I work, is that it's really which was mentioned, this growth, like growing in your role that's like in the DNA. It's part of our bonus model, is to grow your own competency. You get like extra money for developing yourself. So yeah, that's also interesting project in the sense that, okay, I get to dive into this thing which is very new and interesting. Yeah, and Oh, I have so much.
Thank you. No, it's really interesting to hear.
Was there a second question that I didn't answer, maybe? Was that two? Yeah, something on my job that I wanted to.
yes, I think exactly.
Right. Funnily, it's a bit ironic because that's what I do most of the day, but up until now, I wasn't very fond of programming. I've gotten around to it, I think, but it's never my thing. It was just like a tool that I needed to use in order to get something done, right? But now I sort of start to appreciate the beauty of. I mean, I was so fascinated in the Lex Friedman podcast with that he did an interview with Chris Lattner, one of the founders of starting this Mojo programming language. It's a new programming language which probably will be very big in AI. It's like a superset of Python, but based to accelerate AI. So it's like AI first programming language. Yeah, so I'm getting a rush. So maybe before I would say that, but now maybe it's yeah. I don't think I have something that I don't really like anymore.
You've got a second to put the name of that podcast in the chat. That might be useful for anybody else who wants to check it out too. Ah, Rachel's beaten you to it.
Yeah, that's the podcast, and then Chris. Yes,
Okay, is that the one?
No,
very good. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel also mentioned in the chat as well that going back to the previous question, what's the difference between the kind of added value with respect to physicists versus non-physicists? Actually, people from CERN, Rachel hears often that CERN people have great international experience, which makes for great interpersonal relations and understanding of different cultures. That's a correct point. Okay, so I will just ask one last question of you both, if that's okay. And then there are a couple of questions I'd like to put to Rachel afterwards. So one last question for you, Lily and Sebastian. Do you think about opening your own company sometimes? And I'm going to add on to that why. Whether it's a yes or a no.
At the moment, I would say no. And maybe I'm not yet grown too enough into this business, but the stress of getting projects and trying to convince companies that compared to all the competitors which are there, that I am the one to choose, will come early enough that I don't want to have it now, at least.
I second what Sebastian said. So chapeau to Daniel who does this, but I don't think, yeah, I don't know whether it's a personality thing or something. It's definitely part of that. Yeah, no, I don't think about that. I'm challenged enough in my job to not want to go through that pain, that insecurity. That yeah.
Okay, thank you. Nice touch of extra honesty there at the end. I'd just like to say thank you, very big thank you to all the panelists who've spoken today. We've heard about CVs, we've heard about interviews, we've heard about how you make that transition smoothly, positives and negatives about consultancy. I think it's all been incredibly interesting and valuable. And there's a couple more questions I'd just like to put at the end, please, to Rachel. So Rachel, there's one in the chat, which Akanksha has asked, can you highlight more on networking? How should somebody approach networking? Is LinkedIn a good platform? People don't always feel comfortable reaching out to others. What advice would you give?
So that's a very good question, and it's something that we get asked quite a lot. And I'm going to share my screen because I'd like to show you what you can gain from being a member on alumni.cern. So can you all see my screen now? Yeah? Okay. So in terms of networking, you asked about LinkedIn. One of the things I'd say about LinkedIn is that people aren't always particularly honest about their experience. If what you're looking for is to make connections and to be able to find people with a shared experience and can give you really valuable advice and insight like what we've seen today with our alumni in this event, I would really recommend that first you concentrate on alumni.cern. Why is that? It's because all of the members of alumni.cern, you can be sure that they have all, or they all work at CERN. So there's no intruders that come on the platform, and there you know that they've all had a shared experience. A lot of them have gone through what you're going through, or what potentially you'll go through when you leave academia. A lot of them didn't have the benefit of having the alumni network, and so they realized the value of having this alumni network and being able to support a younger version of themselves, as they say. So when you connect to alumni.cern, the first thing I would say is to make sure that you keep your profile up to date. Then if you're looking to make new connections, what you can do is go to the interactive map here that you'll find. So you can see the people who most recently connected today. Now, you might be interested, for example, in people that are working in consulting. I'm going to show you now. Okay, management consulting, for example, and people who are actually alumni. So with the alumni network, we have people who are currently working at CERN, who are members of personnel, or people who've left the organization. Here you can see we have 66 who've indicated in their profile that they are involved in management consulting. And you should see some familiar faces that pop up here. So for example, here you have Jacob, who we saw earlier on today. And just so people are aware of this, when we organize such events, this is how we actually find our speakers and our panelists and the people that we want to interview. Hence, one of the reasons why it's important to keep your profile up to date. So here, once you found somebody, you can go to their profile, or you can also send them a message using this direct messaging here. You can check out people's summaries, their skills, etc. And everybody who's on the alumni platform has agreed that they agreed to being contacted by other members of the alumni platform. So I would really say don't hesitate to actually reach out and contact people using this tool. For example, for today, we've had 7 different people speaking. So 6 speakers and our moderator, Lucy, all of them are on alumni.cern. So there you can already connect with 7 people, me, Simona and Jana as well. So there you can build your connections. If you're looking for something more specific, what you can also do is go to career and mentoring. And here you'll find our mentoring platform. So again, this is really important that when you create your profile on alumni.cern, you make sure you indicate your skills. Also, potentially location could be of interest if you're not interested in doing an online mentoring. And here you can check those people. You can actually search for different keywords or different locations or skills, and then contact those people who you think might be potential mentors. And this is a great way to develop your career, and also you to develop personally as well. So we have that. And then also what I would also recommend people do is stay up to date with the events that we organize. One of the purposes of setting up the alumni network was to support those who are in their early careers. So you'll see that we have a number of events that are organized specifically for people who are thinking of moving out of academia. So we have what we call virtual company showrooms. So you can search for these here. Where are we? Virtual company showrooms. This is an event that we organize online. Apart from the fact this one is actually going to be in person at CERN, but we will be streaming it. So it's a 1-hour event where companies who are looking to recruit speak for about half an hour about their activities and also the types of profiles and skills they're looking to recruit. And then we have a nice Q&A session. And these events are really great because it gives you a direct contact with the talent acquisition people, plus the alumni who work in the company. And then who better to tell you about what it's like working in that particular area than to speak to the alumni themselves, which brings me back to this community map. So really, I would recommend you use the alumni platform, you leverage it, but then you also take part in events and you make as many connections as you can. Don't forget that people have been in the same position as you. And I think it was Lillian who said that generally people are very happy when they get contacted and people's ask them to give them advice. It's something that people genuinely quite flattered about and are happy to do. So I hope that answers the question. And if you've got any questions about the platform, don't hesitate to contact me, my colleague Simona or Jana, and we'd be delighted to provide you with any more information that you might want.
Thank you, Rachel. Very complete.
If I could just add, Lucy, we have created a forum on alumni.cern where we will put the questions, and we'll be asking our panelists if they'd be so kind as to respond to the questions that we didn't get time to cover in today's event.
Great. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Simona. The link is there in the chat for everybody. Okay. Well, thank you for a very enlightening afternoon. I've learnt quite a lot as well. Somebody said earlier today to remain open to learning new things as well as you're going along. I think this is certainly something that I recognize from today. And yes, once again, a great big thank you to all the panelists, for everybody who's also stayed and contributed very interesting questions. Rachel, was there one last word you wanted to make about the Third Collisions event?
Absolutely.
Before we
So
sign off?
thank you. Yes. So Third Collisions, this is a reunion that we organize. We're hoping to bring back 700 alumni to CERN, and it'll be a great opportunity for people who are at CERN to meet in person with our alumni. We're also going to be organizing a jobs fair. So there'll be companies on site who are keen to recruit from within the CERN talent pool. So the dates of this event are from the 9th to the 11th of February 2024. Those people who are currently members of personnel, you'll be able to start booking your tickets on Indico from the 16th of October. So it's a great opportunity to meet, as I said, alumni, learn from their experience, make connections, network, and it's also a very fun event. So we hope to see you all then.